Hey y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Happy Tuesday. I'm gonna get this day right eventually. Eventually I'm gonna know what day of the week it is. Eventually I'm gonna know what day of the week it is, and I'm not gonna be in a situation where I'm sitting here unsure. Happy Tuesday. Hey mom, how are you? Love you. Yeah, I'm really gonna eventually get my life together and know which day of the week it is. I really am. So don't you worry. Eventually I'm gonna get there. Until I do, I'm just gonna wing it. And if y'all rocking with me, y'all rocking with me. Y'all know what I'm doing. I'm sharing it to my other page. Come on, share, please. Tag, comment. Let me know you're here. Guys, I'm excited. It is March. Can y'all believe that it's March of 2021? I don't know about y'all, but this year is moving pretty fast already. How are we in the third month already of the new year? It's pretty quick. So, this should really kind of remind y'all of the fact that the world does not stop moving. And I think too, because COVID last year, everything seemed slower. So some things are starting to get back to the regular pace. And I just think that it will catch you off guard if you are not thinking about it. So I want to make sure that we're definitely remembering that time stops for no one. That saying it sounds cliche, but it's real. This stuff is real. Yeah, we're in March, guys. It's March 2nd. So man, I'm excited though. I'm excited. I think that 2021 will be a good year for us. And I'm excited about today and this month. And it's Women's History Month, right? We just came out of Black History Month. First of all, let's talk about the wonderful series we just came out of, the Men's Mental Health Month. First of all, sidebar, I found out it's really in June, Men's Mental Health Month, but I hijacked it and made it last month. So on this show, it's going to be in February. So anyway, yeah. So, wasn't it great? We had some amazing speakers, guests that came on that shared while we talked about issues or topics and the stigma around mental health for men in particular. I'm so grateful the conversation was started. I'm so grateful I had some people to come on with me to really kind of just drive it home. So I'm excited. Just the momentum for that feels great. And don't be surprised if you hear those topics again. Don't be surprised if you see one of my guests again. We just had so much to talk about. It's only so much you can put in an hour. So I was really excited about that. If you did not see it, please go on and check it out because it definitely was something that was worth seeing. So I was excited about how that went. I think it went quite well. So I decided, let's do some series, right? I don't know how long it's gonna go. I'm just feeling it coming off of the men's mental health. I was like, well, you know what? I actually feel like we need to go on with another series. And so for this month, I said, with it being Women's History Month, what should we talk about? What should we talk about? And I said, well, we could talk about women's health, mental health, but I just feel like I wanted to be a bit more specific. And so then I said, what is the one thing we talk about all the time when it comes to women? And what do we like talking about? And I know automatically when I said that it's relationships. That is literally the number one thing that you guys like to talk about. And I understand why, because we all are in several relationships, whether it is romantic, whether we're talking about friendships, whether we're talking about parent-child relationships or child-parent relationships, whether we're talking about sibling relationships, whether we're talking about business relationships, entrepreneur or career relationships, however you want to go, we have them. We are a people that are built around relationships. And so it is a worthy topic because we're not just talking about relationships. Drum roll. We're going to take it up a notch. Because everything has to be a slight span to mental health. We're going to talk about what does healthy relationships look like. Okay. And I know you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? We all know about relationships. Parents, you talk about this stuff. Well, I don't think that it's something that is known. And I think that before we can dive in, we really have to define it. You know how I feel about defining, a healthy, defining things, right? So if we're going to say that's what it is, let's define it, right? Let's define what healthy really means, and then let's define what we consider a relationship, right? So I think because we assume relationships just are good, because we want them to be. Or remember I was telling you about, a lot of times people think relationships are good. They think the intimacy is dictated by proximity, like that fact that, oh, I live with this person, or oh, this person is related to me, or oh, I'm in a relationship with this person, so our relationship, it should just be good and it should just flow. And I think that's where people get it wrong most of the times. A relationship is something that two people are entered into, and I think it could probably be more than two people, but like direct one. I'm talking one-on-one relationships, just to make it easier. Relationships are two people that both input into the pot to make this union successful. It is work. It's you know what, the good, I love my analogy. So for me, a good analogy would be like a group project. Like, oh my God, back in high school, I used to hate group projects. And I think it was because I hated to have to depend on other people to do their part. This is good. I never looked at a relationship as a group project. That's good. Yeah, I promise you I don't know what I'm saying before I say it. Yeah, like I never looked at it like that. But yeah, how many times is it that we start these relationships, and we think it's just going to be wonderful and roses and things, and we don't understand that there is a piece to play. Everybody has their part, and usually where the train goes off of the rails is when somebody's not playing their part, or it can even be both are not playing their part, or one or both don't know what the part is, and therefore they don't play the right part. That's so good. I'm trying to tell y'all, God be this. It's the God in me, because I promise you, I wouldn't have came up on that on my own. But that's good. Like, I think that's what we want to talk about. What does a healthy relationship look like? Like, I really want to dig into that, because I think that we assume we know. And I think we base what we believe a healthy relationship off on the wrong things. Like, we look at healthy relationships off of how many likes somebody has on their pictures, when they go on their vacation, and how they hugged up and kissed up, and that must be that they're in a healthy relationship. That's if it's a romantic relationship. Or we look at a friendship and say, oh, they going on trips together. Oh, they always out, and we think that is healthy. Or we say, oh, this parent-child relationship must be great because they're always together, or they seem like they're both successful in their life and they seem like they communicate well. Well, you just don't know. You don't know. And even if you are somewhat close to observing a relationship, unless you have every single detail, you don't really know if it is a healthy relationship. It is. There are a lot of people that put on facades because they do not want to give the appearance that something is wrong. And so a lot of times people put more energy into making sure they don't look like they're in a bad relationship versus working on making sure that their relationship is healthy. And I just think this is so important, because again, we are meant to interact. We are put on this earth to interact with people. We don't do well by ourselves. I know people like to say that, no new friends stuff, all that. we are put here to interact and have relationship with people. That is how we thrive, right? And so we just have to learn how to enter healthy relationships and understand what it looks like in the first place. So, right, parents define a healthy relationship. Well, I think a healthy relationship means that both people communicate well. That's the first thing I think, that they are able to communicate what they want, and I believe to communicate what they don't want. Right? I think that a lot of times we talk about communication as one of the foundations of a healthy relationship, but I think that we always take we always look at it from our aspect. I want to be heard. I want to be understood. And so, you tell people what you want, but I think it's also about telling people what you don't want and being articulate about that, right? Oftentimes we have silent expectations. And you know how I feel about that. The idea that, well, if they love me, they should know what I like, or they should study me enough to understand what I like. And while that's real fairy tale-ish, I take more of the direct approach. If it's something that you don't like, you should say it. If it's something that you do like, you should say it. And then there will not be a surprise. Like, it'll be very clear that you said what you want, and you let it be known to the other party. And vice versa, as somebody's communicating to you on the other side of that you hear them and not automatically cut out when you finish saying what you say, or cut out when you don't like what they're saying and you don't feel like that's something you want to. It's about not only being able to communicate, but to actually listen as well, right? So that's, to me, the first thing about a healthy relationship is the communication. Like, that's how you know that it's a healthy relationship. The second thing is being respectful, right? Both of you respecting each other within the relationship. And respect looks different for everyone, right? Someone might say, oh, I don't know, don't talk to somebody when, don't pick your phone up while we're together. And to them, that's disrespectful if you do that. So then if that's what they like, then, or that it bothers them, being respectful of those boundaries. Or, maybe someone's talking and, they don't want to talk about certain things and it makes them uncomfortable. Respecting those things. It comes in a lot of different ways, but I think respect is definitely a key factor in a healthy relationship. And it goes both ways, and again, the good part of it, what I'm talking about, it carries through with all relationship types. It carries through with romantic relationships. It carries through with friendships and associates. And it also carries through with family relationships, right? There should be respect. I don't care if it's parent-child, child-parent, sibling, uncle. All of those things are, they still have a level of respect there that should be given. That's mutual. That's just my personal opinion. It's not just my personal opinion. I think that's a healthy relationship, whether you agree with it or not. It's important to have those mutual respect boundaries there, right? Along the same lines of respect, trust. Trust is so, so important, so pivotal. If you don't have trust, you don't really have anything, because to be able to be in relationship with someone, they have to trust that they can say things to you and it doesn't get out. They have to trust that they can talk to you and just let their hair down and not have the facade up, because they can trust your character. They can trust that their relationship is strong enough where they're not having any conflicts with their expectations. Now that goes back to our expectations piece, right? You cannot have silent expectations. You have to speak up and say, this is what I expect. This is what I think trust is, let's say I'm in a relationship and I think it's disrespectful for you to have a lock on your phone. Now listen, I don't believe this, y'all. I'm different about stuff like that. I don't understand it. But if you're in a relationship and you care about that person, that's something you should communicate. That's something that you should say up front so that it is known, so that you don't have to, that other person does not have to guess. And it's not like, oh, well, you should know that, or I think that if you lock your phone that you have something to hide. Well, you probably want to say those type of things up front, because that's something that's known. That's the thing about indirect communication. The idea of, oh, I assume you should know what I like if you know me, and therefore I'm not going to say it, because if I have to say it, then it's not true. As yeah, we grown. We got to just speak up and say what it is that we want and we don't want. And so when it comes to trust, same thing, if you, it's trust is about integrity as well, right? If I if I'm depending on you to do something that you say and you don't do it, that can put a strain on our relationship, because now I don't trust your word. Your integrity has weaned a little bit for me, because I can't trust what you say. So it's very important to have a good trust level, right? It's very important to be able to say that you have trust in a relationship. Okay. So let's see, what else? Intimacy, right? I think intimacy is so important. And I know when people hear that word, they think all sexual, and it's so far away from that. Matter of fact, let me give you a definition for intimacy, because I think a lot of people really put intimacy and sex in the same thing, and it's not. Intimacy is a closeness between people in personal relationships. It builds over time as you connect with somebody and you grow to care about each other and feel more comfortable during your time. It can include physical or emotional closeness, and even a mixture of the two. I needed to read that to you, because I think that a lot of people really get intimacy confused with just physicality. No, physicality and sensualness is not intimacy. Yes, now can they be parts of physical intimacy in a romantic relationship? Yes, they can. Okay. But intimacy literally can be in, it's supposed to be in every relationship. It is just the closeness between two people. I think that we don't understand how important intimacy is. Um, let me simplify it for you. You know how we say sometimes, oh, you know, I heard people say this, kind of funny when I say it back, but this is my friend and this is my friend. This is my BFF, or that's like my sister, or that's like my brother. And it's these levels, or this is just my associate, or that's just somebody from work. They just somebody who, people make these categories of the levels of closeness they have with people, right? And really, it's just different levels of intimacy. You probably didn't know that. It's just different levels of intimacy. If you have three friends and then you categorize one as an associate, one as a friend, and one as a best friend, then that just means that there are three levels of intimacy to your friendships. And one would assume that the highest intimacy level is the best friend, and one would assume that the lowest intimacy level is the associate. And that's based on how you classify them, right? And usually the lowest level is what I used to classify as surface, right? I call those surface relationships, basically, which means that they literally don't go beyond a surface. Like, when you talk to that person, it's real light. It's like, hey, what's up? How you doing? How's your family doing? How's work doing? Oh, everything good. Your health is okay. Everything all right? Okay. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad you're doing okay. And everything you say is kind of basic. Like, it's one of those people that you ask them how they're doing, and then you really don't really expect them to say how they're doing. And that's not even because you don't care about them. It's just because you really haven't got deep, and you didn't form a level of intimacy or closeness where you have an attachment to this person yet. You don't have any skin in the game, and vice versa. They don't have any skin in the game. This is a person where if you don't see them regularly, you don't even have their phone number probably. You don't even deal with this person on a regular, or if you do, it's not like somebody you call regularly. It might be somebody you just when you see them when you do. It might even be somebody that when, literally if you don't see them for 6 months or a year, you really probably wouldn't think about it because they're an associate, right? So it's because of the intimacy level. Whereas the next level, it might be like, okay, well, this person is a bit closer to me. We've been out before, or we went out to eat or something like that. And we've had conversations. I know a little bit more about this person. They know a little bit more about me. And we do have some levels of closeness, and, we confide in each other, and that we do have trust and we do communicate. And some of those other parts of the relationship are there. But, it kind of is kind of at that level. That's at another level. And then you have somebody, if you talk about that best friend part, right? That's the closest level of intimacy. So I'm literally, you see people say, now, we're like two peas in a pod and we're close. I can finish their sentence. And, I always want to be around them. We always together. You catch them, you catch me. We go on vacations together. We go out to eat together. We call each other when we watch a movie. When something happened in my life, I call them right away. That just means that you're so close to this person that you do value their opinion. You communicate and it's seamless. Usually, you usually just want to talk to this person regularly, or you do trust this person with your details of your life, and y'all have a mutual respect. It's usually a combination of all those things. The integrity is good, or is assumed to be good. And so you see what I'm saying there? Those are 3 different intimacy levels, right? And that's what, not just friendships, that's what romantic relationships, that's what work, career, entrepreneur relationships, that's what parent-child, child-parent relationships, sibling relationships, all of these things matter. It all matters, right? So intimacy is important. Again, I don't want y'all to think the intimacy just has anything to do with physical. It doesn't. I think the other part is allowing people to be free, right? To be themselves. That's what a healthy relationship is that these are 2 people that are joining together because they want to join together, and they have things in common, and they are compatible in some ways, or they are choosing to have relationship, or if it's parent-child or sibling, we're in this relationship, but we want to be in this relationship, right? Because there are estranged relationships with the relatives, right? Where people don't want to necessarily be in it, and then they choose not to be, right? But if you're in relationship with that person, we assume you want to be, right? Or you want to help. So you have 2 people, and what happens, I see a lot, and this is what goes on a borderline of not being healthy and toxic, is that the 2 people combine, we're in a relationship together, right? And it might be good, but it gets to the point where it's so intertwined, it's so convoluted, it's so this and that, and the people get so intertwined into this relationship that it's almost like they don't exist by themselves anymore. Y'all see that? Like, I'm kind of being silly, but I want you to see it. I know y'all seen this before, and I know you probably have had it before. Romantic as well, like where 2 people are together and it almost seems like you don't know where one ends or the other begins. And I know some people say, well, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I think that's when we bring in the word autonomy, right? About the idea and what is autonomy. I'm going to define it for you. I like not to throw out words and not define it for you. So I'm definitely going to give you the definition. Autonomy is freedom from external control or influence, self-government, self-rule, sovereignty. Okay. And so what that means in this case is you can be in relationship with somebody and a healthy relationship with somebody and be very close and have intimacy and have the communication and have the trust and have the integrity and have the communication and everything be wonderful. But if you lose your autonomy, if you lose the the benefit or the ability to define where you start and where they end, and where you end and where they begin in the relationship, you can be in trouble. And I know some people are like, well, Paris, I don't really understand that. That doesn't seem right. Like if you are in a good relationship, like it shouldn't be a gap. And I'm not saying it should be a gap. I'm saying that even in the best relationship, there's person A and person B, and they have a relationship together. What I think people forget is that there is a person A, there is a person B, and then there is a relationship. That is the third entity. Hey, JC, there's a person A, person B, and when they're together, they are a entity in itself, their relationship. But what people think is that when they're in a relationship, there's no person A or B anymore. And I don't agree. I don't agree. I think that's where people get messed up at. It's like it's this idea that I lose who I am. And that's why you hear a lot of people say, oh, I lost my identity when I got married, or I lost my identity when I got into a relationship with this person. I just love them so much. I kind of forgot what I loved, kind of forgot who I was, or I had kids and I just became mommy, or I just became daddy, and I was no longer, you know, Fred or Sally. And it becomes a thing where we have to be super careful because or and I just talked about that was a romantic relationship. Let's talk about regular friendships where you're so close that you forget that you have your own independent thoughts, right? And why does that matter? Well, what if somebody says something that's completely off, and you love them so much you just go along with it? Or you don't want to rock the ship, and you don't have your own independent thoughts, and because you love them you just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go along with it because I don't want to rock the boat. Like or what if somebody is doing something that you love, y'all in this relationship, y'all in this friendship, they're doing something you love, and that's really, I'm sorry, they're doing something that's really going to hurt them. Are you going to be courageous enough to tell them, hey, I don't think that's a good idea? Or do you just not want to say something to them? Or what if you want to do something different and they don't, but you think this is like really, I don't know, maybe you want to start a business and you think this is your big chance, and they're like, oh, I think that's stupid. I don't want you to do that. That's not what you do. Do you, because you love them and y'all agree on everything else, do you just not start the business because you value their opinion so much? Or do you say, you know what, I do value their opinion, but I still have my own opinion, and this is what I want to do, and I'll listen to why you don't want me to do it, but I also still have my own value system. I have my own thoughts. I have my own, governance, self-governance. And I think it's so important. It's super, super important for people to understand that you can be in a healthy relationship, but you still have to govern yourself and be okay with that. And not feel pressured or controlled or manipulated by the other person because you don't always agree, right? Why do you think in relationships and with marriages and stuff, they say for better or worse, for sickness or health, death to do we depart? Like those vows are there because it's not going to always be easy. You're not going to always agree. You're not going to always be okay with each other. You're not going to have great days every day. You're going to have days where things are not all good. And you have to be okay with the idea of agreeing to disagree or listening to somebody out and being able to have your own thought and being able to stand up and say, hey, I don't agree with that, or hey, I do agree with that, and understanding what that looks like, right? Let's see. Here's one. Jason said, this is why the divorce rate is so high, because one person who lost himself in a relationship have now found themselves and begins to see the light. That's a really good comment. I appreciate that, Jason, because honestly, that is true. So many people get together, and especially if it's young, they grow. And what you hope is that you can grow together and you can mature together. And like, this is why I say you have two different people. So we have the relationship, the two different people, and then we have the relationship. And so what happens is, as the years go, people are growing and you hope that you grow at the same level, but that's not realistic, right? You're two different people. So you're probably growing at a slightly different level, right? And so if I'm growing this level and that person's going that level and we're in a relationship, can't you see, if we're thinking we're together, you can see where a bond might want to try to break. And if we can't recalibrate, and get on the same level and adjust to the different growing pains, then yeah, oftentimes you're going to be in a situation where you're not able to reconcile that, because a lot of people don't even know themselves well enough to understand that they've changed. Like, sometimes people fight. I've never really understood this. People fight to say that I'm the same person that I was from day one. And I think that I will never say that. I don't want you to say that. You are not the same person from the day you just met somebody. If it's been over a year, you should be changing. You should not. The reality, you should not be the same. And I think sometimes people get to the point where they want to fight to say, oh, I didn't change. I'm the same person. I don't change up. I'm the same thing, this and that. And the reality is that we all change. The only thing that constant in this world is change. So the idea that you're not changing and evolving is ludicrous. And so instead of saying that that's the reason the relationship is breaking up, how about us talking about us adapting to the new versions of ourselves and understanding and giving grace for the change, seeing if we can work together within the change, right? Because sometimes the change is so abrupt that maybe you can't. Maybe that person is like, hey, I didn't sign up for this. And that's possible, right? But most times there has to be an adaptability level. Usually when you decide to go into some type of marriage relationship, like you just say, or especially a marriage, I'm in it for the long haul. I am here for the challenges, and I'm here to say that even when it gets hard, I'm willing to work it out. That's what you're supposed to do. Doesn't always work out that way. Situations happen. Every situation is different. But yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, being able to adapt to the growth levels, the different growth levels, right? And that's why I say you're two different people, and then you have the relationship. Because if I'm growing here at this level and you're growing there, we are still growing, and it doesn't mean that we stay together like this and we grow the same. That's not realistic. That's not what happens. That's not what happens. You're two different people. You're growing at two different rates, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially, physically. And so you have to account for that when you are dealing with the relationship part. And if I'm here and you're here, like, we have to figure out how to make that work, how to adapt and to conform to each other, how to restructure our relationship in the communication, in the trust, in the integrity, in the communication, integrity, and the respect, all of those things, right? And the intimacy, all of those things have to be recalibrated. Okay. Jason said another fact is that one person outgrows another person. Yes, and that's true. And that's what I was just saying. Like, that's part of what you were saying, is that it can just be that, what, maybe we got together and now it's 5 years later, and maybe I was young and who I was then is not who I am now. And maybe that change is too abrupt for you. And maybe you cannot adapt. The mature thing is to talk about it, try to work it out, see and exhaust all of the options. But then if you realize it's not going to work, then it doesn't have to be this fight, and be able to say, you know what, maybe this just is not working as it was when we first started. And that's okay. I don't have to hate you. You don't have to hate me. See, this is why people don't even realize what healthy relationships look like, even healthy breakups, right? The reality is you might hurt, but at the end of the day, a healthy breakup usually should be done on a sober mind. It's not going to always happen like that, but it usually should be able to say, you know what, maybe this isn't going to work, and that's okay. And I don't hate you, and hopefully we can still be friends. I wish you the best, and I hope you feel the same way. Let's keep in touch. I know that seems so foreign to people. That seems so foreign to people because people want what they want. And if it's not what they initially signed up for, most people get combative because they don't have their emotions intact, right? And they didn't, and then most times people don't really know what they want. Most people, well, listen, I don't want to get too controversial because y'all know I get controversial, but a lot of times, people don't really know how to be in a relationship because it was not really taught. And again, they feel like just because I'm with somebody, that means I know what a healthy relationship looks like. So that's why I want to give you definitions on what a healthy relationship looks like, because a lot of times we don't know. We don't know. And what you don't know, right? And so I want to give a couple of other ideas or thoughts about what healthy looks like. Here's another. I think I think if we want to talk about what the opposite of healthy is, I want to believe that opposite of healthy is unhealthy. And I like to use the next level of and say toxic. And then the next level I say is just dysfunctional. Okay. Some people say, well, Paris, everything's not toxic, everything's not dysfunctional. Let me give definitions, y'all, because I think everybody really get really in their feelings about when I talk about these things. And they say, well, I'm not in a toxic relationship. And I think that if you understood what the definition was, you'd be like, okay. Let's see. I want to say an easy word like definition is harmful, okay, destructive. It could be deadly, but I would just like to say harmful and destructive. Okay, those are the words I'm going to use for toxic, right? And I want to say that because I need you to get a base for what the definition is going to be. Now, dysfunctional, right? I know sometimes people don't like that word either. Dysfunctional, it just means not operating normally or properly. Another word is unbalanced, unstable, deviating from the norms of social behavior in any way regarded as bad. Did you hear that? Deviating from the norms of social behavior in a way regarded as bad. It's important for you to get that because sometimes we hear those words and we're like, oh, I've never been in a dysfunctional relationship. I've never been in a toxic relationship. And the reality is we all have. Yep. All of us. Facts. Whether you signed up for it or you didn't, we've all been in dysfunctional relationships. We just have. And you're like, no, Paris, that's not true. Okay. I'm not asking you, but I'm telling you. It would be a fairy tale to say that every single relationship you have with every single person was friendly, wonderful, and healthy, completely healthy. I mean, that would be a dream. I just don't think that's a reality. And I think that if you think it's a reality, then you don't really realize what healthy means. Give you another example. Sometimes something on the outside that looks healthy can be completely toxic on the inside, right? I see so many people that be like, oh, that's my friend. I love them so much. Everything's so great. Everything's so wonderful. And if you're around them, you really believe that they're just the best of friends ever and everything's wonderful. But if you ever get a moment to like see some things or hear some things or experience some stuff, you'll realize, wait a minute, that's not normal. Wait a minute, that's not cool. Wait, that person said that or they did that. That's not all right. And they're operating under the guise that everything's normal. But I think that happens a lot because people don't know what healthy looks like. And honestly, if you come from a toxic environment or a dysfunctional environment, and if that's what your mama did or your daddy did that, or if that's what your family does, or if that's what all your friends are doing, that looks normal to you. If that's what you see on TV, that looks normal to you. This is what everybody else is doing. That's normal to you. I'll give you an example. If everybody that you ever been around is when somebody gets mad, they yell and they get irate and they scream and they go all the way off, and then they make up and they kissing each other and all good by the end of the night, like nothing ever happened. To you, you might think that's normal. And if y'all fought and everything, but then everything is okay by the end of the night, you might say that's just part of us. That's we love each other. We love hard. That might seem like normal to you. And until you're around people who don't do it, even when you're around people that don't do it, you might think they're crazy at first. But until you realize that hey, that's not a normal thing, you will think it's normal. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And that's just one definition. Even with, family relationships, I remember I knew a family that would do something I thought was inappropriate sexually, and I'm gonna leave it at that. It wasn't sex. I didn't see them have sex or anything, but it was like physical touch that I felt like was inappropriate. And I remember them doing it. And I remember looking like, what are y'all doing? Like, what is that y'all doing? They're like, oh, we just playing. That's what we doing. And I was like, thinking as a kid, like, I can't believe they doing this, But the sad thing I realized later is that they've seen that. They were kids. This is normal. This is what they see. This is what they do around their house. People have done this before. And unfortunately, most unlikely, it's been abused. And so that was sad to me, because if you think it's normal because that's what you see, you think it's normal and you won't ever deviate from it because that's normal to you. So that's why we have to get outside of our norm sometimes and understand what definitions are, and get that just because it's what you see doesn't mean it's healthy. And just because you've always done it and everybody around you does it doesn't mean it's healthy. And just because you don't like the word toxic or dysfunctional doesn't mean that you've never been in a toxic or dysfunctional situation. And it's nothing to be upset about. I've been in toxic. And listen, heck, like this. I'm trying to get y'all out of these, getting trapped in these words. I have acted in a toxic way before. I have been dysfunctional at times. It's okay. It's okay. You got to be able to say that, because when you walk around like you've never been the mean girl, when you walk around like you've never ever been toxic, that you've never ever misunderstood, that you've never got it wrong, that you've never been judgmental, you can't even begin to be honest about relationships. If you were never wrong in a relationship, you didn't have a real experience. If you were never wrong in a relationship, you never had a real experience, because I guarantee you that the other person doesn't believe you was always right. Period. I remember being cheated on once before, and I was just like, oh, they did me so wrong. And everything was dumb. They did so wrong. I gave them everything. I gave them my all. And somebody just clearly asked me, they said, what did you do? I said, nothing. I gave them everything. I did nothing. I never cheated. I never did this. I gave them all the attention, all that and stuff. And they got quiet. They said, oh, okay, so I see what you did. I said, what did I do? And they said, you were not your own advocate. You didn't love yourself more than you loved them. And therefore you neglected yourself. And I remember I sat there like, what? Man, you're tripping. But I mean, as time went and I grew and maturity happened and wisdom happened, and I was like, whoa. And I started realizing certain things, like people can only do what you allow. You teach people how to treat you. You don't have boundaries. You don't define your boundaries, somebody else will. You don't say what you don't like. It'll be assumed that you're okay with it. So again, let's not assume that we all know what healthy relationships are. Let's be more intentional. Let's do the work. Like, every relationship can take an audit. Okay? Every relationship can be looked at and say, how can I be better? How is our relationship? Do we have the level of intimacy that we want? Do I feel like I know this person? If I don't, what can I do to know them? If we're off, what can we do to fix it? Do I want to fix it? Is this a situation toxic? Is it dysfunctional? And if it's so beyond the point of repair, can I break it? Am I okay with that? Or do I have autonomy outside of a relationship where I know who I am, and if it's not working, I'm okay with making the best decision for me? And will I look at myself and put shame and guilt on myself because I'm doing what's best for me? Like, all these things are things that we need to think about and talk about and have these conversations about when we talk about relationships. So I hope this helped. I hope that you guys got something from this. This is just the beginning of the conversation. Like I told y'all, ladies, we're going to have a good month, because guess what? Relationships are all around us, and we have to, nourish these things. We want them. And we talk about anything healthy, you have to feed it. You have to tend to it. You have to give it attention, and monitor it, and do preventive health. All of those things are necessary. So I love you guys. You know what I'm going to say? You are enough. You always are. I'm going to say it till you believe it. You know why? Because somewhere in your back of your head, you still don't quite believe it yet. Somebody told you that you weren't. It could have been a parent. It could have been a sibling. It could have been a person that you were in a relationship with. It could have just been even a teacher. And you believed it. And you started repeating it to yourself. So if I say it enough times and you say it with me, maybe you really will start believing it. And when you start believing it, man, the things that can happen if you start really believing you're enough, right? So I hope that you guys have an amazing day. Don't forget to check out the website, www.parispjohnson.com, to get you some merch, the You Are Enough t-shirts, the Embrace Your Peculiar. And actually today I have on sweatshirt. It wasn't just for men. Actually, it was unisex, but I promoted it for the man. Emotional courage. I don't know if you could read that. It's on the website. Being willing to be vulnerable, truthful, and aware of the full spectrum of emotions. Love that. I love it. I love it. I thought I made that word up. Come to find out, I didn't. It already existed, but I still loved it. And it came out of my mouth when I was talking. And who knew it was a word already? So I got my sweatshirt on. It feels good, guys. The quality is nice. Feels wonderful. Cop you one. It's not just a man's sweatshirt. It's a woman's as well. I have the t-shirts and the sweatshirts. So y'all get them. They're on the website. Check it out. And then Thursday, don't forget to come on. I have my guest speaker, Deborah Givens. It's going to be a great conversation. She's going to help me kick off the week. Man, it's going to be dope. I mean, it is really going to be a good conversation. So ladies, gentlemen, y'all all want to be here. Tell somebody about it. Have them come on. Man, let's have a conversation. Y'all don't have me talking about myself, right? Y'all know I can do that without this being on this show. So please share. Comment. Even if you're watching the replay, type replay so I can know that. And that and if you comment, I'll go ahead and respond back. Thank you for you guys supporting so far. If you have any questions, you can inbox me. And yeah, show up on Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We change your lives one conversation at a time. All right. Ciao. Talk to you guys later.